Okay, so this is just a quick video, maybe 20 minutes, taking you through the 5 principles of Pilates and just sort of following up on a lot of the things that we will have talked about in your first class. If you do this video a few times, you'll start to get the feel for it. Pilates is very much something that you have to practice in order to start to reap the benefits of. So as we will have discussed, it's all about alignment and posture. Always wanting to have the spinal column nice and long, the pelvis and the rib cage on top of each other, or sort of like lined up nicely with each other. Then those shoulder blades are sitting nicely down the back. The shoulders are on top of the rib cage, and then the head is on top of the shoulders. So that's kind of how we always want that trunk to be aligned. We'll start, as we always do, with the breath. So finding yourself on your mat, knees are bent, just starting to get comfortably lined up on your mat and starting to feel heavy within your feet. So you're pressing down slightly into your feet. And then the next thing you should feel on the mat is your tailbone, and starting to feel a nice heaviness through the pelvis and tailbone. And then there should be a little space between your low back and the mat. And next you should feel your rib cage on the mat. And then your shoulder blades should feel nice and flush and flat on the mat. And then next you should feel the back of your head and a nice little curve for your cervical spine. So let's just start here. I want you to take your hands, place them on your rib cage. And we're just going to start with that deep breath. We're in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I want you to just use a pursed lip so that you're slowing down the air as it comes out of the mouth. So we'll take a nice deep breath in, long breath. Feeling that rib cage expand into your hands and lift a little bit. And then as you exhale, just observe the rib cage. It goes downwards and your hands come back towards each other. So we breathe in, we fill up the lungs and the rib cage with air, filling that out through the sides and back of the rib cage. And then as you exhale, you're taking all the air out slowly, and those ribs come down and towards the midline of your body. Let's do a few more of those. So just first observing the rib cage to start. And exhaling all that air out. One more like that. Creating space in the rib cage and then letting all the air come back out. Let's move the hands down a little lower to the abdomen. So you're just going to place your hands right on the abdomen here. Before we get started, I just want you to draw the belly button inwards a little bit. So just like as if you were sucking the abdominals inwards towards the spine. Just do that a couple of times. And now let's just breathe normally back to our Pilates breath. Breathing in. Feeling the abdominals lift slightly, but not a lot. We don't want to belly breathe. We just want to keep the air going into the rib cage and not into the belly. So the abdomen lifts a little bit on the inhale. And then as you exhale, the abdomen falls downwards towards your spine, towards the mat. And again, inhale, you're controlling how much movement happens in the abdominals. Sending the air into the ribs. And then as you exhale, feeling the abdominals lower back, down. Let's do 3 more like that. And out. So you should feel like your belly button is rising a little bit and then pulling down towards your spine on that exhale. Last one. And then exhale. This is where the belly button connects a little bit to the spine. From here, taking the 2 fingers of each hand, bringing them deep inside your hip bones. So find your pointy hip bones, place the fingers just inside, about an inch, and press down just slightly, not too hard. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the lower abdominals and pelvic floor. So pelvic floor makes up the vaginal wall, and it's the underside of our pelvis. So we want to use those muscles during our exhale just to form strength from around the torso from all directions. To find those pelvic floor muscles, you're going to engage a gentle Kegel contraction, or something like if you had to do a urine sample and you had to stop the flow of urine. So it's that gentle pull upwards of those muscles. You're going to take a deep breath in. Now as you're exhaling, I want you to find the abdominal connection first, and then start to think about that gentle Kegel or gentle contraction of the pelvic floor muscles. It's not very strong, it's about a 3 or 4. Pulling those muscles up. Now as we inhale, those muscles release slightly. We take the air back into the rib cage. And then as you're exhaling here, long breath out, that is when we're going to find those pelvic floor muscles. And again, breathing in. And exhale. So those pelvic floor muscles, they work sort of like an elevator. As you're contracting those muscles upwards, I want you to think about the elevator lifting up from underneath the pelvis, and we're exhaling, that's when they're their strongest. And as you're inhaling, they release down to maybe the ground level, but not into the basement. So we don't want to let them go completely, but we do want to have them turning on more during our exhale. Okay, so those are all the areas that you can use through your breath just to observe what's happening. And without the breath, you cannot have your core engaging correctly and with its the potential that it has to engage is much less if you're not using the breath. So even just lying down and doing some long, deep breathing and observing those muscles and that rib cage movement and the pelvic floor, that is exercise for your deepest core muscles. So if you're feeling stressed or you want to just sort of decompress and really focus inward to what's happening in the body, that's a great way to find those muscles. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about your pelvic placement. So in Pilates, we use an imprint or a neutral position for the pelvis. The pelvis is going to be in neutral. We create the natural curve of our lumbar spine. And so in neutral, you should have a little bit of space. Everybody's a little bit different, but a little bit of space between you and the mat. And your pelvis should be relatively flat across the front, like a little table. So between your hip bones and your pubic bone, there should be a little bit of a flatness there that you could maybe put a cup of tea on and visualize it's a tabletop. And the cup of tea could sit without tipping over, okay? So in neutral, that is where our pelvis is best for shock absorption and where it creates the nice natural curves of our spine. So let's work a little bit in neutral. We're going to take a deep breath in, and then exhale. I want you to slide the foot away, keeping that nice neutral pelvis. You're going to slide your foot out long. Now nothing changes in the torso here. And then we're going to inhale and draw the leg back. And exhale, you're rolling that heel outwards. And inhale, you're pulling the leg back. So again, we're keeping the space between us and the mat. We're keeping the work in the leg, not in the back. And inhale, you're pulling that leg back. Exhale, you're sending the leg out. So this space between your ribs and your hips has stayed the same throughout this motion. Let's do 2 more. And returning that leg, same side. Last one. And inhale as you bring that leg back. We're going to do the other side. So deep breath in, preparing to move your leg. Now exhaling, start the breath out and then move the leg outwards. And then long breath in as you pull the leg back. And exhaling it out. So we're using the core as an anchor here for the movement in our leg. And we're just using the breath to keep the core turned on. Exhale, the leg goes out. Inhale as you pull it back with lots of control. Nothing's changing here. And out. And inhale, pulling back. Let's do one more. Exhale out. And inhale, pulling in. While you're doing that, you can always have your hands on your pelvis and just watching for any extra movement in the torso. The torso should be nice and still and strong, and you're just moving the leg. Okay, from there we're going to add on, so staying neutral. We're going to keep everything the same, and we're going to start to bring our legs alternating up to tabletop, which is this 90 degrees, okay? So nice deep breath in, preparing, losing any tension you can. And then as you exhale, start the breath first. And then that leg comes up to tabletop, moving straight from the hip. Nothing changes in the torso. And then a long inhale as you place that foot down. And then no shifting or rotating. Exhale and lift the leg, other leg, opposite leg, up to tabletop. And then a long breath in. And we're placing that foot down. There's a split second here where the feet are both on the floor. Exhaling, the leg comes up. And inhale, placing it down. We're not losing any integrity in the pelvis. Exhale. And inhale down. Let's do one more each side. From here, we'll just work a little bit with the rotation in the femur. So again, staying neutral, just you can rock around, shake it out a little if you need to, and then going into just our nice neutral pelvis, so space between you and the mat, nice and flat on the front. We're going to move the thighs in and out. So a nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you're going to move the knees away from each other, feet stay apart. Only go as far as you can keep the pelvis nice and neutral. We're not going into the back. And then a long breath in as we bring the knees back together. Long breath out, controlling the movement. You want the legs moving simultaneously. And inhale, you're bringing them back. So you should really feel the core turning on when you exhale. Holding everything in place. And then a long breath in, staying nice and strong. As you come back, let's do two more. And inhale back, long breath in. So everything is really slow. Last one. And inhaling back. All right, letting that go, shaking out if you need to. We're going to work in the second position now, which is imprint. Imprint is where we imprint the lower spine into the mat. We're not pressing, there's never a lot of pressure. It's more just like a gentle touching of the low spine to the mat. So how we do that, we are starting our neutral. Feel for your hip bones, and now I want you to place your thumb on your rib cage. So you've got your thumb on the rib cage, your fingers are on your hip bones. I want you to picture that underneath your hands now, there's two little suspenders, okay? Those suspenders are called your oblique muscles, and those are the muscles that we're going to use to bring the pelvis back towards the chest and close the space between you and the mat. So rock back forward again to neutral. Now, we can easily do this with our bum and legs if we want to, but that's not your core. We want the core to be doing this work. So we're going to start neutral. Keep the legs nice and unengaged. We don't want them to be doing this work. The core on the front side of your body is going to put you into that imprinted position. So nice deep breath in. As you exhale, find your deepest core, and then use the obliques, these little suspender muscles under your hands, to draw the pelvis back and close the space between you and the mat. And then let's rock back on the inhale, back to neutral. And as you exhale, again, those suspender muscles are doing the work here on the front side of the body. They're shortening up to bring the pelvis towards the rib cage. Now you're imprinted. And then inhale, let's rock back to your neutral. One more time, we're going to stay in imprint this time. Breathe in. And then as you exhale, shorten the obliques and find that imprint. Now holding that imprint, we're going to stay there and breathe in. And as you exhale, I want you to bring your right leg to tabletop. Take a deep breath in. Now staying in imprint, exhale and bring your other leg up to tabletop. Breathing in. Now exhale, place the right leg down carefully, keeping imprinted, so don't lose your pelvis. Breathe in, this is nice and slow, and exhale, placing the other foot down. And now that both feet are on the ground, we can rock back to neutral. Let's try that again. Breathe in. Exhale, the obliques contract. You're using those core muscles by exhaling to close the space. Now you're nice and short here. The ribs and hips are nicely aligned. We're going to inhale, get ready to move the leg. Exhale, bring one to tabletop. Inhale. Exhale, the other one comes to tabletop. Both are up now. Breathe in. And exhale, one goes down. We stay imprinted. Breathe in. And the other goes down. Now we can rock back to neutral. Let's do two more. Exhale, finding imprint. Use the obliques, not the bum and legs. Breathe in. Exhale, up we go. Inhale, getting ready to move the other leg. Now exhale. Other leg comes up to join it. We're really strong and imprinted now. Breathe in. And exhale, placing that foot down. Inhale. And exhale. Back down. Roll into neutral for just a moment. And last one, exhale, find that nice connection. You're now imprinted. You're not slamming the back into the mat. We're just connecting with the mat. Breathe in. And exhale, up we go. Inhale. And exhale. Other leg comes up. Breathe in. And one leg goes down. Imprint is maintained. And the other leg, exhale. Rocking back. Next thing we want to talk about is the relation between the ribs and the hips. So this rib cage, it was really affected by the movement of our arms. So an example, if you have your arms to the sky, you're going to take a deep breath in, and as those arms go overhead, the rib cage often, if it's not connected and your core is not working for you, the rib cage will come with the arms and lift up and away from the alignment of your spine. So we get that little bit of a sway back, or you see it in gymnasts or in ballerinas, where they let the rib cage really go and let it go. So you can see how that alignment is not correct, okay? We want to keep the ribs and hips nicely aligned. So we really have to think about the ribs a lot, especially when we're using the arms overhead. So let's float the arms to the sky. We're going to take a deep breath in. So right now your pelvis is neutral, your feet are planted. You're just going to keep that neutrality in the pelvis, and we're just going to work with the upper body. Okay, so you're focusing on keeping the rib cage down. I like to think about it knitting down towards the pelvis, towards the midline. So we're not allowing that rib cage to flare away. Okay, so arms to the sky. Let's take a deep breath in there. As you exhale, the arms start to move overhead, not very far, only into your peripheral vision, and the rib cage is going the opposite direction, towards the pelvis. And then inhale, let's float those arms back up. And then exhale, using the core muscles to maintain neutral and keeping that rib cage downwards. Inhale, you float up, nice long breath. And then exhale, ribs go down, arms go up. Inhale. So if I didn't think about that, we'd end up in that extended position. Breathe in. And then exhale, my ribs would flare up and go out of alignment because of the weight of my arms. Okay? So let's do 2 more in good form. So rib cage is nice and neutral. Pelvis is neutral, space between you and the mat in your low back. Breathe in. And then exhale, control the arms overhead. The ribs go down towards the pelvis. Inhale, we float. And last one, exhale. And inhale, floating up. While we're here, we can talk about the shoulder blades. So we want to keep those shoulder blades nice and flush on our rib cage so they're sliding and gliding nicely, and that will allow for optimal movement of your shoulder. The shoulder has a lot of range of motion, so we need those scapulas to be gliding nicely. So let's bring the arms back up to the sky where we had them. We're going to do protraction and retraction, which means we're going to slide the shoulder blades forward as we reach to the ceiling. And then as you exhale, you're going to let those shoulder blades glide back to the mat below you, back to the floor. Inhale, you're going to reach to the sky. And exhale, you're going to draw the shoulder blades down your back towards each other on the mat. Inhale, you're reaching up to the ceiling, letting them slide and glide forward. And then as you exhale, you're sliding those shoulder blades back. And again, inhale. And exhale, back down. We're just getting nice movement in the thoracic spine here as well. And exhale, pulling back. From here, we're going to do just retraction, which means we're going to draw the scapulas towards each other on the back. So we're going to inhale, let the shoulder blades come even closer to each other. So this is all happening on the mat below you. And then exhale, let them come back to just that nice flush neutral place. Inhale, we squeeze the shoulder blades on our back towards each other. And exhale, they go back to neutral. And squeeze in. And releasing to neutral. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, so nothing's changing on my torso. My rib cage is nice and heavy. We're just moving the arms. Pelvis is neutral. And let's bring the arms down to the side. We'll do elevation and depression. So to elevate the shoulder blades means to draw them up your back, and we're going to use you use your shoulder and your back to do that. So as the arms are at your side here, you're neutral in the pelvis, feet are planted, nothing else has changed. We're just moving from the shoulder. We're going to inhale, bring the shoulders, drag the arms up, bring the shoulders towards the ears. Exhale, let them go back to that neutral place where you started. Inhale, you're dragging them up like you're shrugging your shoulders. And exhale, they're going back to where they started. So again, we're just moving from the shoulder. Our core here with the breath is activated, and just working as our anchor. So the core anchors us while we move our limbs. And back. Inhale, shrug up. And exhale, letting them come back to neutral. And let's do one more. Shrug them up. Feels good. And letting that come back down. And then we're going to do depression, which is where we use the side body, the underarm muscles, to draw the shoulder blades down our back. So down towards the pelvis, towards, I call it, put them into your back pockets. So we're going to start in a neutral arm. You're going to take an inhale and press your fingertips towards your heels using those underarm muscles. So you're really reaching the arms. And then as you exhale, let the arms go back to where they started. Inhale, you reach the hands, engage the underarm muscles, your lats and serratus, and then you're going to release that back. And inhale, reach those fingers, engage under your arm, and release. They don't move very far. Last two. And releasing, exhale. Last one, inhale, reach. And exhale, starting to get back to your neutral arm position. Last thing we're going to talk about is just the placement of the head. We're going to be using just a gentle nod through the head. That comes in handy when we start to do some flexion upwards and get into more deeper core work and more abdominal work. So it's really good to make sure that the head is sitting in line with your skeleton. Oftentimes, for most of us, we're sitting in an extended neck, so you can see that my chin here is reaching upwards, and a lot of people just live in this position. They don't even know that they're in extension, okay? So we want to really try to control the position. We want the chin and nose, everything should be nice and straight. You should have a nice curve in your neck spine, and we're just going to work on getting a little bit of extra flexion by gently nodding the chin. So let's inhale, nod the chin slightly. And then exhale, let your eyes come back right to the ceiling. So we're not going into extension. We're just going to go right to neutral. So extension would be looking up over your head. Okay? We're going to breathe in, nod your chin. And exhale as you let your eyes go back up to the sky. And inhale, nod the chin. And exhale, the eyes come back up forward. So it's very subtle and it's a very small movement. Inhale. And then exhale, coming back. And last one. And letting it come up. I'm going to just show you an ab prep so you can start working on it and practicing it. It takes a little while to perfect it. So in an ab prep, we're going to maintain everything we just talked about. So the ribs and hip are in neutral, okay? We're not going to be pressing the back into the mat. We're going to keep that space between us and the mat. And we will be flexing up to look at the thighs, engaging those underarm muscles, and nodding the chin, keeping the chin nodded, holding for a breath, and then lowering back to the floor with control. So we inhale, gently nod the chin. Start to think about those underarm muscles, reaching the fingers to your heels. Exhale, head and shoulders come off the mat. Now I'm still neutral. I'm looking right at my thighs. I reach in, keep reaching to my heels. I inhale, and then exhale as I lower. Everything stays neutral. Head is the last thing to come down. Nod the chin. Thinking about the underarm muscles. And then exhale, using the core to make you strong, to flex the head and shoulders up. Breathing in for a breath. And exhale, placing yourself back down. Let's do two more. Inhale, nod the chin. Exhale, just the head and shoulder blades are coming up. We're reaching the fingers to the heels, breathing in, and exhaling back.
Last one, nod the chin, shoulder blades reach down your back, your fingers are reaching to your heels, exhaling up, breathing in, and exhaling back.
So that's just the first step in getting into some more abdominal work, but the ab prep is sort of the basic that you have to work on in order to get into the harder stuff. So I just thought I'd give that to you so you can start to think about it and practice it, but it could take a little while, so don't worry about that. I know there's a lot here, but if you just repeat this video a few times, it will start to make sense. Okay, thanks. I hope this helps.